Venezuela's Vice President for Economy, Tarek El Aizami, toured the industrial zone of Las Tejerias in Aragua State that was hard hit by a landslide after the passage of Hurricane Julia. Russia resumed on Monday a number of strikes against military targets in several Ukrainian provinces, while dismantling terrorist operations on the territory. And China stressed its commitment to build up a higher standard new economic system in the framework of the 20th Congress of its National Communist Party. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Now we begin with the news. In Venezuela, the Vice President for the Economy, Tarek El Aizami, toured the industrial zone of Las Tejerias in Aragua State that was hard hit by a landslide after the passage of Hurricane Julia. The Vice President of the Economy said that he is with the local authorities and other officials of the economy portfolio coordinating the intervention actions intended to reactivate the industrial activity there. El Aizami assured that with the support of the national government, 23 companies with serious and slight damages have been identified and progress is being made in their total recovery. He also informed that a work table was set up with all the entrepreneurs of the zone to assess the effects of the sector and provide them with the necessary support. And Africa's most industrialized economy is set to move away from coal as fuel as part of South Africa's green transition measures to do its part in the fight against global warming. Last year, the government secured $8.5 billion in loans and grants from a group of wealthy countries to finance the transition to greener solutions. However, doubts remain about the country's ability to make rapid progress towards its goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2050, as coal is one of the pillars of the South African economy, employing over 100,000 people and accounted for 80% of electricity production. Recent studies suggest more jobs will be created than lost by going green, but the analysts said the swap will not be painless for coal-reliant workers. On Monday, Haitian social movements and opposition parties called for demonstrations to reject an eventual foreign intervention promoted by Prime Minister Ariel Henry. The mobilization was called in front of the U.S. Embassy to denounce the request of foreign troops in Haiti and to demand the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry, whom they blame for high treason. On the other hand, Washington confirmed that the U.S. and the Canadian military planes arrived on Sunday in Port-au-Prince to deliver military equipment to the General Director of the Haitian Police to confront the armed gangs. These mobilizations are taking place amid the social and the economic crisis that the nation is experiencing due to the increase in the price of fuel, the high cost of living, and the health crisis. In Brazil, after the first presidential debate ahead of the runoff, polls show that candidate Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva got more than 44% of favorable responses and won a large part of the indecisive or blank vote over his opponent Jair Bolsonaro. According to recent polls carried out by Intel, former Brazilian president and presidential candidate Lula da Silva obtained 44.5% of positive remarks on social media. Meanwhile, his opponent, current President Jair Bolsonaro, obtained 36.5% of favorable comments. According to recent polls, Lula da Silva remains favorite for the runoff on October 30th and has 49% of the voting intentions, while Bolsonaro obtained only 41%. In Uruguay, university professors strike against low salaries and demand higher budget for the sector. The teachers of the University of the Republic, UDLR, call on their Twitter account for a new mobilization to demand the government to increase the salaries. The union will concentrate in front of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security and then march to the Executive Tower, the headquarters of the Presidency of the Republic. This will be the continuation of mobilizations that began several weeks ago and included the occupation of several faculties of the House of High Studies. And world records show that the US dollar highest level since 2000, its strengthening is making it difficult for world economies to curb inflation, as the dollar have been appreciated 22% against the yen, 13% against the euro, and 6% against emerging market currencies since the start of the year. Low-income economies are the hardest hit by its hegemony. Although the U.S. share in the world's export trade has declined from 12% to 8% since 2000, the share of the dollar in the global export has maintained around 40%, according to the IMF's report. The article also explained that such a sharp and expedited strengthening of the dollar has sizable macroeconomic implications for almost all countries. We'll take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. On Monday, the new United Kingdom Finance Minister, Jeremy Hunt, announced in an emergency declaration the reduction of the plan for aid to energy bills and reversed almost the reduction of all the tax cuts in the mini-budget. These new measures will radically change the plan announced by his predecessor, Kwasi Kwarteng. The September fiscal event brought instability to financial markets and increased the United Kingdom's borrowing costs. In a statement to the media, Hunt explained that the base rate of tax will now not be cut until economic circumstances allow it, and said that the existing energy price support scheme will be redesigned to be more accurate in helping those most in need from next April.
Secondly, the government's current...
Sweden's parliament backed conservative moderate party leader Ulf Kristersson as the prime minister on Monday. Kristersson was elected by a vote of 176 to 173 and will present his government on Tuesday. His three-party coalition does not have a majority, but Sweden allows prime ministers to govern as long as there is no parliamentary majority against them. Kristersson's center-right coalition government includes his party, the Liberals, and the Christian Democrats, and a formal collaboration and power share with the Sweden Democrats, an anti-immigration far-right party. Kristersson will be replacing Magdalena Andersson, who heads Sweden's largest party, the Social Democrats, which now are in opposition. He backs Sweden's historic bid to join NATO following Russia's special military operation in Ukraine. And the World Health Organization is sourcing rapid response financing directly from companies to help tackle international crises. Through the foundation is set up to compensate the shortfall from member states. The WHO Foundation, set up in May 2020 as the UN Health Agency struggled for resources to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, was created to gather new resources from businesses and philanthropists. According to the foundation's chief executive, Anil Zoni, it has raised $30 million since the start of 2021, money which has mainly been focused on supporting the WHO's emergency response to COVID-19, the cholera outbreak in Haiti, the devastating floods in Pakistan, monkeypox, and attempts to get aid into Ethiopia's besieged Tigray region.
Between COVID-19, climate change, conflict, the number of people on our planet, the number of men, women, and children who are in need is growing. The ability to respond is there, and institutions like the WHO are critical. For that response to be successful, we have to partner. So I don't think any government can do it alone. I don't think any UN agency can do it alone. I don't think any business can do it alone.
Now we move on to other topics. Russia resumes on Monday a number of strikes against military targets in several Ukrainian provinces, while dismantling terrorist operations on the territory. Moscow used high-precision missiles to strike the command centers of the general staff, communication infrastructures, and energy facilities in Ukraine. These measures were implemented in response to the Ukrainian terrorist attacks in the country. Russian authorities warned Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that if terrorist attacks take place in Moscow, their response will be swift. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian government issued an air alert in the southern and central parts of the country for the 8th consecutive day. On Monday, traffic on the Kerch Bridge linking the Crimean Peninsula with Russian territory resumed after damage caused by a terrorist attack by Ukrainian forces, according to Russian intelligence. According to the Ministry of Transport, the transit between two directions now flows normally. Ships and ferries also sail smoothly. The route is one of the most important logistics supply routes for the Russian forces in the Crimea and southern Ukraine. According to Moscow, the Ukrainian attack killed 4 people and provoked a strong response from Russia. On Monday, 14 NATO member countries started military drills that will roll out until late October. According to its executive secretary, Jens Stoltenberg, the routine exercises, known as the Steadfast NUM, are aimed to nuclear deterrence. The maneuvers that will roll out until October 30th will see the deployment of at least 60 aircraft of various types and will be carried out over Belgium and the United Kingdom without using live fire. For its part, the Belgian Coalition Against Nuclear Weapons has denounced these maneuvers, assuring that it is irresponsible to carry them out in conditions of high nuclear tension in the relations with Russia. The Japanese coffee industry, which is still pulling itself out of the COVID-19 pandemic, is now facing fresh challenges brought about by the depreciation of the country's currency. In 2021, Japan consumed some 400,000 tons of coffee. However, the consumption habits of Japanese people might change as the prices of various coffee products in the country expected to further rise with the exchange rate of the yen against the dollar constantly weakening. The exchange rate of the yen against the dollar has fallen continuously to 148 yen against the dollar, a new low in 32 years. The depreciation of the yen has battered many industries that rely on import of raw materials, including the coffee industry.
We currently rely on other kinds of beverages to maintain operation, but we will have to raise coffee prices if the purchase prices of coffee beans continue to rise.
We will consider coffee beans of other origins if they have warranty, quality, the same mouthfeel and lower prices.
And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. In the framework of the ongoing 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, the Asian nation ratified its commitment to speed up the building of a higher standard new economic system and promote a smooth domestic and international dual circulation. Zhao Shenzhen, Deputy Director of the National Development and Reform Commission, refuted the voices at home and abroad, stating that to take the domestic circulation as the lead in the development pattern will imply the country to shrink by a large margin from opening to the outside world, and even engage in a self-sufficient economy. Deputy Director Shenzhen Tianjin ratified that the Asian giant will defend the building a community with a shared future of mankind, actively practice true multilateralism, and promote the economic globalization to a direction of becoming more open, inclusive, universally beneficial, and balanced.
For some period of time, the economic globalization has encountered headwinds and countercurrents. Certain countries attempt to decouple with others, sever supply chains, and build a so-called small yard with high walls. But the world will never retreat to the state of mutual isolation and separation from each other. Opening and cooperation remain an historical trend, and mutual benefit and win-win results are still what people aspire for.
Likewise, Ren Jin-dun, Deputy Director of the National Energy Administration, highlighted that China's diversified energy supply system has gradually improved, with the quality and efficiency that the energy supply constantly rising.
We will pay close attention to the long-term development needs and build a clean energy supply system featuring wind, solar, water, and nuclear sources. Solid steps will be taken to promote the construction of major hydropower and nuclear power projects, push forward the construction of large-scale wind power and photovoltaic bases primarily in sandy areas, rocky areas, and deserts, develop biomass energy, geothermal energy, and other renewable energy in accordance with actual conditions to raise the share of non-fossil energy consumption to around 20% by 2025 and 20% by 2030.
And Iran vowed an immediate response to the European Union as it prepares new sanctions on the Islamic Republic. EU foreign ministers met on Monday to adopt sanctions on Iran, including on the morality police. The foreign ministry spokesperson Nasser Kinani said that if the bloc initiate new sanctions, this will be unconstructive and irrational. The planned EU sanctions targeted 11 Iranian officials and 4 entities, including the morality police, who will be subject to EU visa bans and other freezers. The United States, Britain, and Canada have already announced sanctions against Iran. The Persian nation has been hit by demonstrations since the death of Mahsa Amini. Tehran has accused the U.S. and some allies of fomenting the protests.
If Europe is ready to cooperate in a position of mutual respect, Iran is equally ready to do so. If two-sided policies are adopted, Iran will show a reciprocal and proportionate reaction. This applies to the different European countries, and it also applies to the common positions that the European Union wants to adopt towards Iran. Iran will decide and act immediately in accordance with the decisions and actions.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps military drills began in the northwestern part of the country on Monday. The holding of these large-scale exercises aim to improve the combat readiness of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps ground force. Brigadier General Mohammad Pakpour, commander of the ground forces, announced that the drill includes a heli-borne operation, night gallop operation, helicopter combat operation, combat and suicide drone operation, as well as the construction of a bridge over the Aras River, as well as several other operations. The United Nations Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, said on Monday that the economic situation in the country is very difficult, and nearly 15 million people are in need of humanitarian aid. The situation of Syrians, both inside the country and abroad, is very difficult, as the envoy said in a press conference after his meeting with Foreign Minister Faisal Al-Migdad. The official spoke of difficulties on all these fronts regarding the situation in the country. On the other hand, he stated that since March 2020, there is a ceasefire in the country and the front lines have not changed. However, a large number of Syrian civilians are still being killed.
Syrians inside and outside the country continues to be extremely difficult. We have since March 2020, we have had a ceasefire in place. We have front lines who have not shifted, but still too many civilians are being killed. So that's still a challenge. We will continue to work to try to see if there is a possibility for a nationwide ceasefire. We will continue to work on the humanitarian needs for the Syrian people. We will continue to work on the needs for the refugees and for those living in the different areas inside of Syria, whether it is government-controlled areas or not.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.